All right, now trinomials. I know it's everyone's favorite. So trinomials come in the form like this, and what I mean by that is it's going to look like this, where you've got some number a, some number b, and some number c, and then there's an x squared for the first term, an x, and then no x in the last one. So that's the kind of thing we're doing. And we're going to be able to make two factors out of it. So again, we're going to have like bracket, bracket, x, x, some number, and then either plus or minus that number. So that's kind of where we're trying to get to. And so it says if a is equal to 1, so it's saying this one, and those are kind of the easier ones that we're going to do here, then what we want to have happen is that we need numbers that will numbers that will multiply to create AC, while at the same time they add to create B. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So for this question, what you're going to do is just right away underneath, just draw your brackets. And I know all of these questions are going to start out with X and X. And then I'm looking for numbers that can multiply to 15 and numbers that add to 8. So what I do on these is I just start thinking of all the numbers that can multiply to 15. If you need to, or you probably should, just start writing them down. So I'd be like 15 and 1. Those do. But 15 and 1, yeah, they multiply to 15. But I can't get to 8. If I add those, I can't go 15 minus 1 to get to 8. I can't go 15 plus 1 to get to 8. There's no way to get to 8, so that can't be it. I'll leave it written there, though. 15 and 1. Next one, maybe, I don't know, let's go 5 and 3. That seems promising. 5 and 3, because I can add those together and get 8. So that's probably the one I'm looking for. So what I do is write down, okay, so 5 and 3. Wouldn't matter if they were in the opposite ones. This could also be 3 and 5. Doesn't matter. So we got that figured out. Now, since we are adding, the next step is we just got to figure out what sign we need to put in each one of these. And this one's kind of an easy one. If they're both addition symbols, they usually are the easy one. That we're just going to add. So plus 5, plus 3. And they do add to 8. If you factored this out after to check, so that times that, that times that, and that times that, you would actually end up getting this solution. So you can see the x squared of this came from the first time, like this first one, x times x. The 8x came from 3 times the 5, or sorry, x times the 5, the second one here, and then the 3 and the x, because you added those together. So they ended up making 8x. And then this 15 comes from 3 times 5. So that's where this all comes from, if you weren't kind of keeping track. Next one. All right, so again, we're going to start with bracket, bracket. I know since this is x squared, it's going to be x and x. And now I'm looking for numbers that multiply to 12, that add to 1. So I can start writing those down. So 12 and 1 maybe. So 12 and 1, there's no way that I'm getting from like adding 12 and 1 to get to negative 1. I just can't really see how that could work. So I'm going to keep moving on. So something else that multiplies to 12, well, 6 and 2. But again, 6 minus 2, that gets me to 4. 6 plus 2 gets me to 8. There's no way. I'm not getting there. What about 4 and 3? Well, this seems promising, right? Because I know the difference between these is 1. So I can probably get to that negative 1 if I put the right signs in there. So I'm going to put 4 and 3 into these spots. So 4 and 3. Now this is the tougher part, is I got to figure out which one's positive or negative, or are they both negative? Who knows? So you can try these out. I know I need to have it get to negative 1 So let's say I put a negative in here first. And actually, probably the best way to think about this is I know that it needs to get to negative 12 if I multiply, right? So multiply it to negative 12. The only way I can get a negative is if one of these is positive and one of these is negative. It might be that way or it might be that way. Those are the only two options I have, though. Uh-oh, stopped working. I am going to have to... Oh, let's see. I'm going to have to stop the video there. All right, I got the page back. I don't know what happened. Okay, so we're trying to figure out whether there's which one's negative and which one's positive, and I know that it's going to be a negative and a positive because they multiply to negative 12. So one way you can do this is just try it out. Just go, okay, well, this is negative and that's positive. 4 and negative 3, well, yeah, they multiply to negative 12. But 4 minus 3, that gives me positive 1, not negative 1. So I got those backwards. Switch those around. Negative 4, positive 3. Yeah, that gets me to the negative 1 that I was looking for. So that's my answer. All right. Okay, so next one, we're going to do factoring trinomials with a greater than 1. So what that means is like a out front is going to be some number. It's not just going to be 1. I'm going to get you guys actually to ignore this diamond method thing and pretty much all of this. I'm not a big fan of all of this. I wish I wouldn't have printed it out for you now. It's kind of a gimmicky way to do this. I'm going to show you a more kind of realistic way to do it. All right. So just like the other ones, it's going to be really similar to the other ones. It's just going to be one more step. Oop. Come on. There we go. All right. So the way this is going to work is we're still going to have two numbers that need to multiply to something and add to something else, but we're going to change what they are. So what it's going to be is it has to be this number and this number. So the first one and the last one multiplied together. So that's what they need. Two numbers I'm looking for. I need to multiply to that. So I need something that's going to multiply to 6. And I need something that's going to add to negative 7 still. So just like the other one. So it's got to add to negative 7. So that's what I'm looking for. So first thing I'm going to do is say, all right, so what are two numbers that multiply to 6 and add to negative 7? Well, 2 and 3, no. 2 and 3 multiply to 6, but they don't add. There's no way I can get them to add to negative 7. What about 6 and 1? Yeah, I could do that, right? So I can have them multiply to 6 if it was, well, negative 6 and negative 1. They would both multiply to 6 and they would add to negative 7. So these are the ones I'm looking for. Now, what I'm going to do with those, I'm still going to make my two brackets. We're going to have an X and we're going to have an X. And what I'm looking for is they need to be able to multiply to this, right? This thing and that thing. So it's got to, one of these has to be 2 and one of them has to be 1. So just nothing there. Then what I'm trying to do is get this number and this number need to multiply to either be 6 or 1. So what, or negative 6 or 1. So what that's going to be, I'd say, is negative 3. Because now I've got the 2 and the negative 3. That's where I get my negative 6 from. And then the other one is negative 1. And then that's this number and this number, which is a 1 out front of that X. So those need to multiply to negative 1. So if you look at this, I've got 2x and 3, or 2x and negative 3. That gives me the negative 6, right? So, and I've got negative 1 and x. So I think these ones are just going to take a bit of practice, but I'd like you guys to learn it this way because it's kind of showing what's actually happening. So let's do this one. So we've got 15 times 4 So they need to be able to multiply to 60. And it's got to be something that adds to negative 17. Those are the numbers we're looking for here. So you can just try a few things that multiply to 20. I'm just going to put the answer down. We've got 20 and 3. 20 and 3 would both multiply to 60. And I can have them add to 17 if I make this a negative 3. 20 and negative 3, right? All right, so what we're going to do. Oops, and actually, sorry, I made a little mistake there. This should be negative 20. If I wanted this to add to negative 17, it'd be negative 20 and 3. Okay, so what I'm going to do is you'd have an x, you'd have an x again. Now remember, this number and this number that I'm going to put in need to multiply to either negative 20 or to 3. And this number and this number need to multiply to either negative 20 and 3. So we're just going to kind of try a few variations here. So let's maybe try. So I'd say probably my best bet though is I need this number in front of this x and this number in front of this x. They're going to multiply to get this 15, right? So it needs to be something that can multiply 15. So 5 and 3. Let's say 5 and 3. So 5 and 3, remember one of these things has to be negative 20 and one of these things has to be 3. So this one is going to be, if this needs to multiply to negative 20, I'd say that's 4. Let's get me the negative 20, right? And then if this is going to be the 1, that has to be 1. And then if you check this out, you can see that, okay, so negative 20 with the 5 and the 4 gives me negative 20. And then minus the 1 and the 3, which is just 3, that gets me to that negative 17. So that does add to negative 17. I know those ones are kind of tough and take a bit of practice, so I'll definitely help give you guys a hand on those. They won't be coming up an awful lot, so if you struggle with that, don't stress too much. So I'm going to let you guys actually go ahead and practice some of these problems. So yeah, I'm going to leave that there. It's kind of a long video. So I'm going to get you guys to go ahead and do, what's it called on my site? Factoring worksheet A and factoring worksheet B. Yeah, give it your best go. I'll give you guys a hand in class too if you need it.